All right, welcome to the fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes on social media. My name is Judson Powell. I ask you to hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, hit all the buttons, just hit buttons, all right? Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about spirituality and religion, and just give you a few little facts about these things. Anyway, the first thing is that a lot of people, they criticize you. They talk about you being woke, or they talk about like you subscribing to Kemet and the entire Kemetology. I guess that's the best name for it, or the Kemetic religions, or the Kemetic spirituality. But here's the thing, and after I've studied this, and I'm telling you this stuff after study. I'm not telling you this stuff just off the top of my head, which a lot of people do. A lot of people will come at you and they will try to spit facts at you, or spit things, knowledge, what they think is knowledge at you, and all this kind of thing. First of all, there are over 200 religions in the world. All right. There are over 4,000 denominations just in Christianity alone. All right. So the first thing that we want to get out, and the first rumor that we want to dispel is that Christianity is somehow better or more unique than any other religion, and it's not. Okay. And the first thing is, and then you have to make a timeline. My second reason for making this video is so that you understand the timeline of how most of these religions came along. And the thing about it is, most of them have the same elements, and those elements being what? Virgin birth, a savior, Messiah, a quote unquote chosen people, or whatever you want to call it. And they all have the same elements. Well, except for the whole chosen people thing, all of these elements basically come from Kemet. Every single religion is based off of the gods in Kemet, and so, or the god in Kemet, however you want to say it. All right, but the bottom line is that they were all basically plagiarized and stolen from Kemet, because they all have the same elements of the original spirituality of Kemet. And being, that there was a Trinity, there was other things. And the thing about it is, and then the next thing you have to do is you have to realize what is the timeline to all of this stuff. And the timeline to all of it is the fact that all of the things that happened in Kemet happened between 50 and 75,000 years ago. Okay, and the only real civilization, there were other civilizations, but no civilization recorded, wrote down, had any type of written language, alphabet. So the first alphabet, even though maybe hieroglyphics, and then the papyrus, all of the letters, all of those things were all written down. Okay, and I'm talking about 50 to 75,000 years before any Bibles, any Quran, any Vedas, any Talmud, any of that stuff, Kabbalah, whatever it be, whatever religious book you want to bring up, they all come after the spirituality in Kemet. So once again, now when I was in law school, one of the things that they taught us was that you don't use a secondary source if there's a primary source, and you definitely don't use a tertiary source when there is a primary or a secondary source. So in other words, if you know the root of something, you go to the root of the matter. So in terms of law, if you know that there is a seminal case, meaning a original case, and then there were other cases which are the progeny of that case, as you go down and as you go through, what you realize is that original case is the basis of everything. And then all the other cases basically are decided or settled according to how that seminal case went. All right. And that's basically, when you're talking about religion, that's the same thing. So realize that the thing about virgin birth, or the savior, and all of those things were already present in Kemet. They didn't just pop up, and then all these different names and languages and everything. All of these languages, they originated because the original alphabet basically was the hieroglyphs. And then after that, the Coptic Kemetic priest wrote things down in the papyrus, and then they started using the language. And the only other language is that has ever been used, even in the Bible. So you can go down, but Ethiopia is the only other civilization that's older. But even the things that have been found in that civilization, they also basically they mirror imaged everything that they found in Kemet. So we know that as time has gone on, that all of these things came or originated from there. We know that there are certain things, and so that's why people want to complain all the time about, oh, well, they stole this and they stole that, or we don't know this or we don't know that. But there are things that we know, but there are things that we know that we don't accept, or that we tell people, oh no, that's not true, or this is not true, or this is what I am. Well, let me explain something to you. There has been DNA testing, there's been DNA mapping. Okay, DNA does not lie because it's scientific. All right, I want to further go into the fact about science. All right, it's scientific. Your DNA will line up. If your DNA lines up, it lines up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. People get out of jail or put in jail because of their DNA being in certain places or not being in certain places. People have been exonerated and freed from prison because they discovered that it wasn't them. Because of what? Because of DNA. All right. So the DNA has been mapped out. So we know that there are basically only a few places, and you have to look at an old Alkebulan map. You can't look at an African map, but you have to look at one that is from the ancient world. And one that is from the ancient world will tell you that if you are black and you have melanin in your skin, I don't care where you are on the planet. I don't care where you are on the planet or what you claim your religious belief is and all this kind of stuff, because people say some crazy stuff. I had somebody tell me they were a Negro. I said, do you know what the word Negro means? Okay, Negro is simply what the Portuguese and the Spaniards used to describe what? Black Africans. All right. And then it was adopted by the United States government as the official terminology to describe an African. Okay, and then later on, as we can go through that whole thing. As later on, we were known as coloreds, we were known as blacks, and then African Americans, and now African descendants of slaves. So we've always been known as something, but we've never been known. What you need to understand is that you are African and that we are an African people. And if you have melanin in your skin, you originated in Africa. No matter what mix of the thing you are now, you can have a tremendous mix of everything. But guess what? The single common denominator, if you have melanin, is Africa. And there are basically a few places in Africa. You either came from Kemet, you came from Ethiopia, or you came from Kush. All right? And if you look at an ancient map of Africa or Alkebulan, you will see that those are the places that we originated from. And then we started to spread out all around the world. All right? And all the things that we know that we're starting to learn because of DNA and because of all these things. We're starting to learn that the Aborigines and that there were actually Africans that were already in North, Central, and South America before all of the fake history that we've been taught. We know that we were there. We were always there. We built boats. We did, we have boats that are 20,000 years old and all of these different things. And I'm talking about, and the Bible by itself, wake up. The Bible by itself is only by its own admission, 5,000 to 6,000 years old. And we've been around so much longer than any of that. So you have to understand the first thing you need to do is you need to clear your mind and realize in your mind what you really are. And what you really are is you are an African. And then after that, then you can start tracing up or tracing back to find out, your roots. And now with DNA testing, they can actually, with the mapping, they can actually tell you what village you came from in Africa. And you can go back and you can meet your descendants and your ancestors, and see where they lived and where they walked. But if you're going to sit up there and keep on clinging to different and various religions that didn't even concern you, and let me explain something to you. Christianity does not concern Africans. Christianity is a curse on Africans. It is a curse on all the indigenous people of the earth. In the Bible, like, I posted on my page today, they have in there 666 is the mark of the beast. 666 is the formula, is the scientific formula for what? The scientific formula for melanin. All right, which you possess if you are a person that came from Africa. So basically what you had was Europeans calling you the beast. All right. So, and then switched it all around. The same thing with the Passover. The Passover is an Akashic ritual, a cannibalistic ritual, a vampire ritual, where you drink blood and eat flesh. So the Passover, or the Holy Communion, the so-called Holy Communion, is a curse, and every time you take it, you curse yourself. So you have to understand that these things were placed in these scriptures in order to try to enslave you. And if you notice, the time that all of this stuff came out, the time that it was published, the time that it was put into the mainstream was right around the time that slavery started, the early 1600s. So as soon as the early 1600s, so we know that all of it, and you can go back, and everything that I'm saying, you can research it as I did. In fact, I urge you to research it. I implore you to research it so that you know the truth. Stop sitting up here, quoting Bible verses that aren't meant for you. They really aren't. They're not meant for you. They're not, and when you sit up there and talk about you're this person or these are these people in the Bible, okay. And then I always say this. So show me, after all these wars, just the Exodus. I always go back to Exodus, because you can go to all the Exodus stories, all the things that happened in Exodus, and there's no archaeological or historical proof that any of it ever took place. And they try to excavate all of these different places and try to find, they haven't found one spoon, one fork, one bowl, one cup, no place that none of these encampments were, no chariots, nothing. They haven't found anything. But you can go and find things that are 50 to 75,000 years old in Kemetic and in Ethiopia and in Kush. So why is it that you can find all that stuff where we came from, but you can't find it where these other people are claiming they came from? And the only reason why they're claiming they came from there is because they want to have an historical, they want to be historically included in the world and in society. So you can't believe what all this stuff that you read and everything, and especially even when you do research on Kemet, you have to be careful, because you always see that they will caption it with Greek and Roman, or they will compare it to Greek and Roman civilizations, which did not exist until, like I said, until thousands of years later, and then they copied and they plagiarized all of those things so that they would have a place in history, and that they could try to make themselves great and look at the greatest civilization and the greatest people and the greatest master builders that ever lived, which was the people of Kemet. So we have to give them credit. So stop discrediting your ancestors. Love your ancestors, because they love you. Right now they're in the spiritual realm looking down, trying to help you to wake up. And that's why we're here, to get you to wake up. Anyway, that's the fastest 15 minutes on the internet, the fastest 15 minutes on social media. My name is Judson Powell. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and I'll be coming back at you real soon. I love you all, and thank you for tuning in. And remember, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.